someone help me with the number.
666.
Number 6. Number 6. This many sixes. 6. Number 6 of I'm Perfectly Beautiful. My name is Seb Williams. We're on Shabaria's page. She is over here on my side of the screen. Everybody say hello to amazing Shabaria.
AKA Dinosaur.
AKA the Dino today. Maybe we can give everybody a nick, go around the table. I'm assuming if you're here on Shabaria's page, you heard of this lady before. She is amazing. If, however, for some miraculous happenstance, this is the first time you're seeing her, just go ahead and press that follow and like button and make sure to stay up to date with all things that dinosaur loving lady does. Beneath me here on the screen, we have my brother and my mother, the one and only Mr. Pierre. Give him a hand, everybody. Oh my gosh. Beautiful, smiling, happy face right there. Pierre is incredible. I don't know if you also want to be a dinosaur this evening, Pierre.
No, he should be Mr. Hotman.
Today's episode. Feel free. He's a what?
Mr. Hotman.
I don't know what she's saying.
I feel like she's had too much sugar today.
No, I said you should be Mr. Hotman because of our joke earlier.
I don't know what the joke was.
Oh, Mr. Hotman.
Yeah,
oh, right.
yeah.
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah, you had a thermometer on you earlier.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Inside joke.
Yeah.
The people watching this are probably like, what on earth have I tuned into? I promise if you stick with us, it will go somewhere beautiful that you're not expecting. It might have already gone somewhere you're not expecting, but we'll steer it back on, I promise you, as we dive through this conversation. Pierre, blessed to have you with us, bro. Very, very blessed. And moving other brother from another mother down in this direction, right? We have the one and the only, the Mandalorian, Mr. Bryan himself. Everybody, beautiful, big round of applause in a hand. Thank you for gracing us with your beautiful energy, my friend. Very, very blessed to have you with us. Now, wondering what exactly is this? What have I tuned into? What have I asked on the internet right now? This is I'm Perfectly Beautiful or Imperfectly Beautiful. And today's topic, we're here to speak about how to set your own boundaries, respect your own boundaries, and saying no. Now, I don't know you guys, but this, like, my brain loves these kind of conversations. I think they're really important to have to learn how we can maybe shift our thinking and empower ourselves a little bit more. And by the way, just drop a little hello in the, if you're tuning live with us, let us know who you are, where you're tuning in from, if you're a dinosaur as well, whatever it is that you might be channeling today.
But who are you?
Whoever you want me to be, that's who I am. I'm a free spirit. That's who I am.
Okay.
I think that's right. We've got a Mandalorian, a thermometer, a dinosaur, and a free spirit. What more could you ask for on a podcast episode, right? Now, if that's not the Avengers reborn, I don't know what is. Now, if you are tuning in with us live, little thing below say hello. My name is, and I'm tuning in from blah, wherever you are. I'm in the UK. We're all in the UK. I'm from the US. So I know we got a pretty global crowd going on, so let us know where you're tuning in from. And also let me know, I'm curious, I want to put this question out there, and I want to ask you guys as well here with us live. If you've ever if you've ever struggled with the idea of saying no to people, like, I think it's probably not just me. I know that, like, it's something that I've always kind of had a internal dialogue with myself. I'm like, I know that's not something I want to do, but saying no, isn't always the easiest thing, right? So how with that, how do you set your boundaries and respect them, right? And how do you actually go no, knowing that everything will be okay, right, on the other side of that scary word? So my question, maybe to Pierre, to our thermostat of the room, is, Pierre, are you a yes person? Would you define yourself as a yes man?
I define myself as a yes man. So if you don't follow me, Yaspierre on Instagram, on Facebook, shameless plug, guys.
Absolutely.
YAS. But yeah, It depends. Like I've not been a no person for sure. Thanks, Chips, for changing that. Yeah, I've definitely been more of a yes person with everything. I mean, especially actually, it's not until like the past year and a bit that I've actually learned to say no properly, but it's also the past year and a bit that I've actually learned to say yes to a lot of things too. So it's kind of an interesting question. And actually recently, I'll start with this, but recently, well, the past few months, like I've ended up saying yes to so many things that it was actually not good. And I think that's where, this conversation comes in and is really, really helpful for any of us that have had this issue where you may be like, you've got all these opportunities coming in. And actually, to be honest, I'm very thankful for all these opportunities coming in, because it started as a result of me saying yes to one opportunity, which led to another, and you keep saying yes, and things then keep coming your way, which is wonderful, and I'm extremely grateful. And the thing is, you've got to then know when to say no and when to stop. And I think that's what's caused maybe some stress and lack of sleep and all that. A little bit of anxiety too is not saying no and not. And this is because actually I wanted to do all these opportunities that came my way, but and this isn't necessarily about setting boundaries like to other people, but this is about knowing when to just say no for yourself and know how to direct your energy efficiently to the things that you want to do. And sometimes it means saying no to things that you want to do to then do them a little later. So that's been kind of where I've been in the most, in the last few months, last year or so. But then I've also learned to say no to things, to people, to, I would always do things for people like constantly. And I'm not saying that's the bad thing. That's a really good thing. Obviously, being of service is something that we all do. And we can all agree, I'm sure, is just a wonderful thing. And, we're on here as well to be of service to everyone else. But it does come to a point where you have to question whether you are doing what you're doing just to maybe to please others or to get recognition, or whether you are actually doing it from kind of more of a, I'll say, I don't know how to word it, but like from a pure kind of, I really don't have to describe it properly, but hopefully you can understand what I mean. But yeah, so rather than doing it from more of an ego point of view of wanting to get that recognition, but doing it from more of a pure kind of place. And I think I'm going around in circles in my head, so I'm finding it hard to find my words. But my word quota isn't usually as big as other people's. I can be quite quiet. So yeah.
For introverts on the screen.
On the screen, I'm definitely more of an introvert, definitely. But yeah, no, and it's been about learning to to say no to some people asking things of me, or even because I used to be so open to saying yes to people would just come to me anyway, and kind of, it's not from like taking advantage of it, it's just that's what they were used to. And I think once you give and give and give and give, people are just used to that and they don't really question it, which is fine, because that's what they're used to. But then it is down to you to be like, no, I don't have the energy for this anymore. And it's not from a place of selfishness, it's from actually a place of self-care, to, like I said, conserve your energy and direct it into the things that you want to do. And another thing I found is when you start to do this, when you kind of break the pattern, I'll say, of constantly, if you're doing it from a people-pleasing kind of stance, when you start to break that pattern and you start saying no, then I found that there was actually a lot of guilt in the background as well. And I don't know if you guys like experienced that as well. But and in the comments, like if you've experienced that as well, just like wave emoji or whatever. Or yeah, I see Misty's, but I can resonate. So I think we've all had that. And what I found from like my shadow work, my inner work recently, is that is normal. Like what is a healthy boundary setting often comes accompanied with some guilt when you are first learning to put those boundaries up. And sometimes you might end up putting the boundaries up way too high. And that's also normal. You're kind of wanting to go down the straight line, but you kind of end up going in zigzags, too far one way, then you realign, go too far the other way. And eventually, those zigzags start to get smaller and smaller, and you actually go along the path that you want to go on. But it is all a work in progress. And I've by no means got it down. But I'm definitely improving, and I'm actually two things, very thankful for like you guys and this community. And I'm actually also very proud of myself for the work that I've done on this, because it was definitely something that caused a lot of anxiety and stress and all that. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And I will pass back to Seb or to anyone.
Beautiful shares.
Nice.
Can we give it up for Pierre, ladies and gentlemen? Beautiful share. And I want to thank you for being so honest and open, because I think, I don't know about you guys, but when you, anyone else, but when you were speaking, Pierre, I was like, I recognize a lot of these things in myself. I've been through some of that, like it's very,
absolutely.
I think we've all been there. And particularly what you said. Well, this is the thing. It's always a journey, right? Like we're always learning how to better dance through these kind of things, right? To dance through these lovely moments of life, and how to say both yes and no, because they're the same side of different sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
To the right things, and to do it in the right way, and to do it without. I really liked what you said about like. Well, not like what you said, but I really resonated with what you said about the guilt. Like, no one likes guilt, right? I don't just say like, oh, I liked what you said about guilt. That was very good. We should all feel guilty. No. But it's important. Today, I will feel guilty for saying no. Like none of that, right? We ain't got time. Ain't nobody got space for that kind of behavior, right? But it's important to recognize that it is a very probably common thing to go through, and there's a lot to be said, I think, for when you realize that you're not the only person going through something like that, or to have that kind of experience, not to take anything away from your own individual experience, but to go, oh, like solidarity, right? Like other people have gone through this and have figured it out, and if they can do it, well, then why can't I as well? Yeah. So I really commend that, Pierre. I think it's really good. And one other thing that was running through my mind, I don't know if either of you, Chabari or Pierre, have seen the film Yes Man. Or Bryan, I don't know if you've seen this.
Love that
film, right?
I've heard of it, but I don't think I have.
Jim Carrey.
It's an incredible film, right? Jim Carrey, and the idea is that everybody should watch this, because it speaks so deeply into what we're talking about today. But the idea is that he says he has to say yes to everything. That's the challenge that he gets set in the film. He has to be a yes man and say yes to every opportunity that comes.
Yeah.
And only through doing that, through having such contrastive experience of what it's like saying yes to everything, do you then learn sometimes how to then say no, and what to say no to, and build that, like, because what was going through my mind when you were speaking, Pierre, was like, well, how do you set the boundaries? Like, how do you establish that? How do you feel where they are? And sometimes the only way to know is to kind of test the boundary a little bit, right? And to push it a little bit and go, that's kind of like where my line is, that's me, where I'm, like, that's where I can go to, you know what I mean?
I agree. I think you only know when you push the boundaries, and then you only actually realize when you've gone too far. In my case, anyway. I mean, probably there might be a healthier way of doing it. I don't know, because I've not done it. But for me, it was definitely a case of going like too far, taking on too much, and then kind of like reining it back in a little bit, and knowing that like 100%. This. Like one thing I'm doing, I can just put it on pause. Doesn't mean I have to stop it forever, but just I'll get back to it later when I've got a bit more time and energy and more focus can go towards that. But yeah, so
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I know, Chabaria, for you this year has been a lot about, you've been a big advocate, or if somebody thought when I said that before, they thought I said avocado. So I know you've been a big avocado for boundaries and routines and self-care and respect and you know, learning how to say yes and no and how to communicate that not only to yourself but to others. So how have you found that process of like going through that, like, you know, pushing the boundary, figuring out where it is, and kind of like bouncing back?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because also like hearing what Pierre just said before, it's still very much ongoing, especially like when it comes to setting a boundary for my own health. It's still a bit interesting because I don't know if you guys can resonate with it, but I always feel like I can do this, and I find my spirit is stronger sometimes than my body is, and so I'm like, oh, I'll do this, and especially also when it comes down to the choice between myself and other people, I tend to want to choose other people first and say like, oh, I want to help this person, I want to help that person, I want to be there for someone, and then only you know, I can sleep later, or you know, we'll sleep. Sleep is overrated. I used to say that all the time. Sleep is overrated, but it's not. And for everybody who can resonate with this, write this thing down. Is that you have to take care of yourself if you care for others. Because if you don't take care for yourself right now, yes, maybe you're helping other people at this very moment and you're pushing your boundaries the whole time. But at some point, you're gonna hit a wall, and that is gonna kind of break you down, to say it very drastically, so that you are not able to help anybody anymore. So it is super important, especially for those of you who care about other people, that you care for yourself first, because in the long run, it will allow you to help way more people and be there for people in a sustainable way. And also, if you actually think about it with relation to money and business, this is also something that Robert Kiyosaki talks about, where he says, pay yourself first. Even when it comes to business, and you have, you know, you work with a whole bunch of other incredible people, then you have to pay yourself first, because this is also a thing, you know, that a lot of people find difficult, is because they think, oh, I need to first give to others, I need to first help others. Exactly the same concept. But in order for you to do this on the long run, you have to take care of yourself first. And so I can say this with a lot of conviction, but still to this day, sometimes I'm like, well, I'll run an extra mile right now and it's okay. But especially the past few months when it comes to health, I've just been, saying no. And then also like looking, I've upgraded my skill to look at the clock, meaning that I can see, oh, right now it's a certain time. And right now, this hour is a good hour for some sleep, or it's a good time to go and, you know, do some exercise, or let's just go. This is what my favorite thing well, not my favorite, but one of the things that I like to do these days. You should try it out. It sounds so weird.
Anyone else really worried and curious about what she's about to say?
Yes.
Yeah. A little bit of both.
It's gonna sound weird, but it's actually really nice. Lay on the floor and then roll around, and you know.
Okay, I think for context, we need to explain that Yaspierre has not one but two dogs.
Yeah,
you probably
right
do
here.
this, right? Have you ever heard the saying that, you know, like pets become like their owners? I think in this it's working the other way around.
Almost. Maybe you can see them.
I'm really enjoying the slow zoom out here. Here we go.
Oh,
here's Faith and Simba. Yay!
Hello. So yeah. But it's really nice.
I have a sneaky feeling you've maybe seen them do it and gone, that looks like fun.
Exactly. That's it. So like we can learn so much from pets, because now it doesn't want to go back. I'm so far away. But you know that pets, they take breaks all the time, and whenever they're tired, they just go, okay, bloop, and then they go sleep. And so it's actually very good to model them. And so a lot of the time when I'm behind my laptop in my laptop corner, then I see them and look at them and think, oh, whoa, they're having a nap. So I just like, okay, let's join them. roll around.
So when you're trying to get hold of Yaspierre, guys, and you know it's been a while since she replied, you know why? She's just on the floor, rolling around, having a great time.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, maybe let us know in the comments if you've ever experienced this, like the rolling around thing. I have a feeling that you can't be alone in this, Yaspierre. You can't.
Oh.
You can't be. It's interesting though. Like I don't have dogs, but I have an Apple Watch and it beeps at you. I don't know if anyone else has Apple Watch. Like if you haven't moved enough in an hour, it'll say, yo, stand up.
Yeah.
And that's really helpful for that as well. I mean, I don't roll around, but then I just go for a walk or something, you know. But we've all got our little systems, I guess, to keep us in check. It's really interesting, like particularly with the health aspects of this, because like, you know, you can apply this to, you know, your personal life, your professional life, your career, your health, you know, like there's so many different things. And there's obviously a lot of synergy, but I think particularly with health, I think it's a really, really important one, because that's where the self-talk in that one is like, I think probably the most important, because it's just you. Like, you know, like with your business, you might be working with people and other people are like having input, but like when it's just internal, it's like, it's you just having that dialogue with yourself and you're just saying yes or no to yourself. I think it's a really interesting one. But it kind of on the, how do you say, kind of counterintuitively, when I feel like I need to kick myself up the bum, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, let me know. And I need to shift my routines or my, you know, my boundaries. I find that helping someone else get perspective on theirs helps me get perspective on mine, if that makes sense. Which, like, if you're not practicing what you preach, then how can you integrally give that advice, right? But sometimes you might be having a conversation with somebody and you're like, oh yeah, like, you know, they might put something to you, like, and you go, no, that's completely ridiculous. Like, why, you know, like, you need to look after yourself more. Like, you know, like you're working long hours and, you know, whatever it might be. You're just doing something completely crazy, rolling around on the floor, I don't know, right? And your friends would be like, no, why are you doing that? But then when you give that advice to somebody else, like at the same time, like you're giving advice to yourself. I don't know if anyone else has that.
Yeah, 100%. I think we have the conversations to back it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not talking to yourself, then like, you should try it out. It's very interesting, the conversation.
This is also what they say, like for so many different things, right? About if you actually help other people do something, you internally heal yourself, or you find out, you know, what it is that you want, and by helping others achieve their goals, you achieve your goals as well. So this is a very, very, very powerful thing to do. But yeah, and also like being integral. When I say this, then obviously, hey, maybe I should do it too.
Yeah, exactly. We lead by example.
Yeah.
But then, because there is a lot to be said for that, you know, like helping somebody else is a very fulfilling thing, but you do have to be able to help yourself first and foremost.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a chicken or an egg, like which one comes first? And I think really it can just depend on the day. Like sometimes helping someone else will be the motivation you need to then help yourself. But other days, the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd be curious, Bryan Mangiolardo. I know you're a very eloquent, young, beautiful man. Like, I don't know if anyone's not heard Bryan speak. When Bryan shares, like the words are very,
very good.
Very good, very magnetic. Like, you know, I think there's a lot of wisdom in what you always share, Bryan. And maybe sometimes you don't know how much, which is why I'm feeling the need to highlight it.
Well, thank you.
Chabari's off to roll around. Okay. Bye-bye. But I'd be curious, because you're very kind with your words as well, Bryan. And I think sometimes people don't want to say no to somebody because they do want to, you know, be, you know, whether it comes from the need to please, you know, and it's like maybe a toxic people-pleasing circular kind of thing going on, or maybe it's just because you do actually want to, you know, help, you know, or somewhere in between. But sometimes, you know, the how do you call it? Not the restriction, the thing to say. What's the word I'm looking for?
The boundary?
The root?
No. Not restriction, not rejection. The
Fear?
Resistance to say no. The resistance. There we go. There's like a big resistance to say no to somebody because maybe you don't want to upset them or offend them or anything. So I'd be curious, is there any thoughts you've had around this, Bryan, yourself? Like where, you know, like I said, it's definitely something I want to say no to, but then how do you say that? Like, how do you communicate that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And first of all, I want to say that I completely agree with Pierre's share so far and everything you've said, Seb and Trabaria. And I definitely fall victim to people pleasing, both for myself and just to see others happier. And I definitely have fallen into the category at times of saying yes to things that maybe you didn't feel like you should have, but you know you're going to make someone happy. And so the times, what I've learned more probably in the past year to 6 months than ever is no matter how much you want to help others, unless they're willing to help themselves, you're not really doing anything. So, and it took me a long time to realize that, because I used to be, why, just have fun, just love this, just love being alive. Like, what's wrong with you? It's a beautiful gift, just love it. And that's not always the case. So I've had to learn my boundaries as far as if it was something that I personally felt aligned with doing and it wasn't harmful to the other person, then I would say yes. But if it was something where, you think someone's just acting on emotions and not necessarily who they are or what they care about and things like that, then you kind of, that's when I take the perspective of there's two sides to everything. So if I come across someone that is choosing the pessimistic side, I try to say no. Yes, you kind of divert it with, well, this is over here too. And that was something that I'm growing with all of this. I think Jabaria said it, how everything in life is organic and not everything is the same. And, you might be able to, it might be easy to say no to something that looks blatantly, obviously harmful, but then you might struggle with something else that seems simple on another day. So it's really, I think finding your own alignment has helped me the absolute most and has taken out a lot of the guessing in life. And it's really, you kind of feel your way through it instead of thinking your way through it.
I like that.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's interesting that you talk about alignment. I think that's really important. Like, understanding yourself is the biggest part of this, because then what to say yes to and what to say no to, because it's like the first part of it, right? But then how do you say that? It's not always the easiest thing, right? Especially, it's really, I really liked what you said about alignment, though. It made me think of an aha moment that I had maybe 3 years ago now. Speaking about balance, because when I think about alignment, like, I think it makes me think of balance. I don't know if I'm alone in that.
Me too.
And particularly with like setting boundaries, like a lot of it comes from balancing your energy, right? Getting into alignment. And so, balancing work and pleasure and exercise and, different, whatever practices, hobbies, family, everything, right? I don't know if I'm alone in this, but when this clicked for me, and you guys might laugh because you might think, Seb, this is so obvious, like, how have you only just like fathom this? But this for me was like literal, like, when you have an aha moment and you sit there and you go, oh my God.
Oh,
like,
that's that moment where that owl gift is like.
Yeah. It's a mixture between that and Janice from Friends. Right? It's kind of like the two. So the thing that I realized was that balance. Because if you think, like, if you try and balance this pen, like, it has to be equal on both sides, right? The weight has to be distributed. Everybody's trying to balance something now, right? In balance, in those terms, I'm so happy that this is working right now. Balance in these terms means equally distributed weight, right? But balance in your life doesn't mean, like, because I used to segment my day and I'd like routine my day out and diary it or whatever, and I'd be like, okay, I need to do and you take my day and cut it into squares and have exactly the same amount of hours of work and exactly the same amount of hours of exercise and exactly the same amount of hours of time off and the same hours for family, I'd be like, okay, so I need to like chop my day up into like 4 blocks of everything. And I was like, no, like it doesn't need to balance in your life. It doesn't mean equal proportion like that, right? So long as it's balanced. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like 20, 30 minutes of yoga in the morning sets me up brilliantly, you know? And it means that I don't have to do 2 hours of yoga every morning. It's a godsend, right? Time back. But like I used to think it used to have to be so extremely routine like that, like to a T. But then like, you know, like the proportional thing, like oh wow, like, you know, an hour of yoga or something might equate to 3 hours of work or something, 4 hours of work. You know, like the payoff can be the same, so that it can be equally distributed and balanced.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be exactly the same. And like that portional thing blew my mind. I was like, wow. It just, I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if anyone can relate to that, but it just felt like a massive pressure to be like so much more relaxed about setting my boundaries and really establishing what they were and realizing that boundaries can be a little bit fluid because, you know, like water, you know, it can flow, and that there can be balance in that. There can be alignment in that. It doesn't have to be so structured and rigid.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely.
You all look so serious right now, like.
Yeah, you know, for me, I don't really like fixed things, and so whenever I try to do like, okay, this hour to this hour I do this, then I'm like really fixed. I cannot. My creativity cannot come out. That's why I like what Bryan said so much before about feel your way through life, and I very much resonate with that as well. So it's like there's some things there. I know I need to do like a bit of exercise every single day. I need to do a bit of rolling around every single day. But when that happens, that's fine. Like I can roll around at 11 o'clock or at 10 in the morning. It's like all good. So yeah, that's what I definitely like that aha moment.
Yeah,
I think
I think there's a lot to be said.
Like I completely agree with that as well. Like, and I think those, you know, those proportions can change every day. Like, like someday you might not even want to practice yoga, or some days you might, you know, sometimes you might just need to not work to balance out for the time that you have worked, or all that kind of stuff. And I think what you said, Sabaria, about having it all fixed into place, and I think Seb, you mentioned it as well, like that for me, that just creates so much more stress, you know, having to like,
right,
you know, like, which is like sometimes it's not good because I end up not planning, and planning is but like when I plan too much, I found that, like you said, Sabaria, my creativity just goes out the window.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have to adhere to my plan 100%, otherwise it's a failure, which obviously it's not.
That's where that guilt starts to come in again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And so, like, I mean, a while back, I planned out what I wanted to do, like waking up at 6 a.m., do this, and Sabaria knows about this because we were going to be accountability buddies for this. We haven't done it.
Sabaria tried to get me into a 5 a.m. club once as well. It lasted like 2 days.
Very productive 2 days.
Oh, yeah, we didn't even do 2 days, not even one.
Wow.
But
the thought was very, very productive, though.
The thought's productive. I think also not doing it was productive, because I think at the time when I planned it out, for me, it just wasn't going to work. I was already just too tired, and I needed rest and all that. So having that flexibility, like, is super important. Like, maybe set a plan, but be flexible around it. Like those boundaries to yourself, at least, can be, you know, can be more flexible, and, you know, but then you might need some other boundaries which are inflexible, and you need to just be like, no, like this is where I stand.
Yeah, like if you've got a job and, you know, if you've got a job and you need to work fixed hours, that's probably a boundary you want to respect a little bit. If you want to get, you know, sorry, boss, I'm not coming in today. I'm just fluid. Pierre told me on this live, he was like, you know, you gotta someday steal your boundaries, and I'll be seeing you next week. Bye. Like, there's definitely both sides, right?
That is possible too.
It's certain percent. Yeah, I think that is
If
important.
you're your own boss.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I didn't do it like that, but whenever I was, having the opportunity to go on business, that's kind of what I did. So
Yeah, 100%.
Mhm.
That's another vote for the freedom lifestyle, huh? Tick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pierre. I really do.
Yeah,
I might just. Oh, sorry, Bryan. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was just going to backtrack to what something.
Everybody's so
something
loving.
I was going to
Go
back
ahead.
something that you said earlier, which was, when doing something because you don't want to upset someone, and like I've definitely been in that position, and something that I realized and learned is that if when you put someone else's feelings above your own, like if you really don't want to do something and makes you feel like not good, and when you honor, when you don't want to upset someone, or you think it might upset someone, it probably won't. Most of the time it doesn't. We make these things up in our heads. You're actually giving your power away when you don't honor what you feel and put someone else's feelings ahead of your own. Like there's I don't know, this classic example that's been said to me about like, say like you break up with someone and it hurts you to see them on social media or whatever, and you want to block them, but you don't want to upset the person by blocking them. But there you're just putting that other person's feelings ahead of your own, and that's not healthy, because every time you see that person on social media or whatever it is, then you get those whatever unhealthy feelings. So it's not to say you have to block them forever, but just for the time that you need the separation in terms of this scenario, it's important to honor what you feel and honor and keep your power and not give it away to someone else. So that's just what I wanted to add. And you, Bryan, thank you for the time there.
There's a lot of truth in that, because if you think about it, like if whoever you're saying no to does care for you and love you and support you, if they knew that you would feel bad doing it, or it would, cause you harm or stress or whatever, they wouldn't really want you to be doing it, right? So if you can communicate that effectively and say, actually, I don't think that's the best thing for me right now, like they should, the response should just be, okay, fantastic, to do what you got to do, look after yourself, like it should be met with nothing but love and support, really. It's an interesting one.
And if
the
not,
highlight of
why do you do that? Then it's all the more reason to block.
Exactly. It can be a really good indicator of like other people's energy in your relationship. It can be quite an eye opener.
Yeah.
You wanted to add something, Bryan?
Yeah. So I'm going to dive a little more personal here. So right now, it's been the past few months. I've actually been taking on bigger roles with helping different family members with different things. So that in and out of itself has really tested me. And also I have learned a lot about myself and about, just the situation that we're talking about here. A lot of times I would say yes to things, and it was nothing harmful, but it was, maybe it was something you don't exactly, your whole heart's not in it, if that makes any sense. I mean, obviously it's family, so your heart's in it, but not completely. And on the days when I find myself unbalanced and out of alignment, those are usually the days that are pretty rough. And all the things happen that looking in 2020 in hindsight, you're like, oh, this is exactly why I didn't want to say yes. And, exactly that situation. But on days when I say yes to something that I can foresee it's a lot to handle or a lot to take on, when I'm in alignment, those are usually the days that go smooth. So for me, it kind of goes against what we're talking about here, because I kind of fight through the no, but it has definitely opened my eyes to the fact that there are days that you have to, I think it was Abraham Hicks that said it, some days the best thing you can do for the entire universe is take that nap and do nothing.
Yeah.
It's realign yourself, because when you are aligned with who you really are and you're feeling good, this whole world is better off. And when you're not doing much for anybody, including yourself.
Yeah.
So it
That's
definitely
so true.
And kind of to tie it back in, there are weeks that, maybe it's easy for me to help family 6 out of the 7 days, and other weeks maybe it's only a 3-day kind of week. It's all different. It's all organic, and you just have to don't force anything. That's something I'm learning.
Yeah.
Don't force anything, no matter what others' opinions are. You have to do what's best for yourself at all times. And it's weird. When you become selfish enough about yourself, you're going to reach a place that selfishness turns into selflessness. And then you can help so much more.
Yeah.
It's very strange, but it's true.
Yeah. So
That's
right.
very beautifully put. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
See, this guy with his words, I told you he was eloquent, right? Holy moly.
Because also,
Very beautiful words.
if I can add to that, a lot of the time when at least in my experience in my life, whenever I choose things for myself, and even though it may in initially I think, oh, but what if this, what if that, and stuff like that, right? But then when actually I do it, I actually realize that those people that I care about, they want that for me also. They want me to rest. They want me to look after myself. They want me to roll around and to look after myself. So like what Pierre said before as well, sometimes we worry about certain things or how it will make certain people feel, but it is very important to know, first of all, that 90% of the things that we worry about never even happen. And number two,
Very
like
true.
Seb said before, is to always have conversation, because a lot of the time that's the only thing that is just missing out. Like having a conversation, actually testing the waters or checking if your assumptions are true, because we all look at the world through our own beautiful glasses. Mine are very pink. No, I think rose, pinkish.
Rose.
Yeah, I look. My glasses look very colorful. I'm always so. I said I like to see the bright thing in this. So I think all of us have very
Rose tinted.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
Like the color of my shirt, but like colorful. but not everybody may have the same, because so many people, especially, well, I think anytime in the history of the world, but there's a lot of things going on, and a lot of people go through a lot of suffering, and a lot of people have a history and have gone through certain things. And sometimes whenever you look with whichever type of glasses you have, because every pair of glasses is equally as important and beautiful, that we look at things, but we forget that another person may have also gone through something. So having a conversation in all cases, and not just going off your own assumptions, is very, very beneficial in a lot of cases. And if I may add one more thing to this, actually, is I really want to say how much I respect all three of you, and the way how you do things, and the way how you stand in life, because a lot of the time people forget, in search for something big, forget that it's the simple things in life that matter, and it's the living with respect, living with compassion, living with integrity, that actually allows you to do the best things and allow you to experience the most joy. And how Bryan talks about helping your family members, that is so, I mean, like, to me, that's
Incredible.
so incredible. Yeah, absolutely. Like, really, really, really much respect. And
Thank you.
this holds for all of you, right? Like the things that you do, like maybe not necessarily to be mentioned on the show, but I know, like, of all of you, things that you do in life, the things that you stand up for, the things that you hold dear in your heart, that is what matters. So for anyone who's listening to this, sometimes we look at all the big stuff and we think we set our goals and we want to say yes or we want to say no, but pat yourself on the back as well for all the good decisions that you have made and all the thank you guys for all the thoughts that you think, for all the good vibes that you exude, because those matter. And in order for you to continue with that and to see like, hey, how can I take this to another scale and exude even more happiness, and to really picture for yourself what is it that you wish to achieve, what is that future that you want to attract, then that could maybe be a compass for you to decide whether to say yes or to say no. And both of them are equally as important, just like Bryan said before about being in alignment. So if there's an opportunity that presents itself and you feel like, does this bring me closer to my goal? Then say yes and go for it. If whatever is presented to you is not bringing you close to your goal, or not at this moment because you would be taking on way too much, then you say no. And that matters, and that is important. And ultimately, every person around that is affected by that decision, just have a conversation with them. And if they love you, if they are there rooting for you, then they will understand that sometimes you say yes and sometimes you say no. And ultimately, everyone will be better off. So I just wanted to add that to Bryan's beautiful share.
I think as well, like some people, people that I've spoken to, like some people have sometimes come to me and be like, oh, do you think I should tell this person this, because I don't feel like, happy about this or whatever it is, or, they've asked me to do something, I don't want to do it. And it's like, is it okay for me to say? And they're like, yes, absolutely. It's 100% okay. Yeah. And some people sometimes don't know how to kind of express this and communicate it, because they are worried of like hurting someone else's feelings. Yeah. They think that the other person is going to think that it's about them when it's actually not. It's about you. And like, this might seem like so basic and so, I don't know, but it really helped me anyway. Like when I wanted to communicate things, like I would literally just say like, for me, this is how I feel. Like just the for me was a massive game changer for me. It honestly was. It's such a tiny little thing, but it just allowed me to honor what I felt, communicate that effectively, and just make sure that in that way you're also communicating that it's got nothing to do with them, and not wanting
it's not
to
me,
do something.
it's you. It's not you, it's me.
Exactly. And just saying, whenever you're even in a conflict, not even when you're not even talking about like boundaries, but like, say you're arguing with someone, family member, or a partner, or a friend, or whatever. It's like, I feel like this, for me, not be like, not you made me feel like this, or because of you, I feel like this. It's not because of the other person. That person cannot control how you feel. It's all like internal. And so, going back to that, I think that for me, I feel like this. Then the person literally cannot say anything. They can't tell you, no, you don't feel like that. It's such a simple thing, and it's so true. Like, no, you don't feel angry. No, you're not.
I'll tell you who could say that to you. Professor Charles Xavier, who you remind me of sometimes. Yeah. He's the mind reader, telepath. He could probably say that. So.
I think he probably would, yeah. But in a non-X-Men world, non-Marvel.
What?
Huh? No, I know. But yeah, so, and then like, I think we've all mentioned it. If they don't honor how you feel, then it actually tells you something about the relationship that there is there, or what they really think about, or how they really feel about what's the connection or whatever. So anyone having not sure about how to communicate the things that they feel, literally for me.
That's a beautiful tip. Thank you for sharing that, Pierre. Because it allows you to take the responsibility of it, which it is, because it's your feelings, it's your intentions, it's your decision, right? It is yours, and it allows you to lean into that in the conversation. That's a really powerful tip.
And also just to add on quickly, like that doesn't mean that you might not feel anxious about saying it as well. It doesn't mean that it eradicates that. It's just you might still feel like really horrible, really worried about them making them feel bad, but you've not made it about them, at least. So you can maybe take some comfort in that. it is just about you that you're talking about, and not not them.
Yeah, it will probably soften a lot of things as well, because whenever you say, yeah, actually exactly what you said just now.
It's true though. It does. It takes the pressure off, right? It kind of lightens the load somehow, lightens the conversation.
Yeah.
And so it's often things like that. It's the little simple things. Like I think we touched about this, like the simple things in life that matter, but it's also the simple things that we can say or that we can do that will radically, change the outcome of things, that will have the biggest impact. It's always the little things,
Can I actually add a very quick thing?
No.
My brain wasn't fast enough just now to play.
The irony of saying that on today's episode. No. For me, Chabaria.
Oh, no. Come on.
Let's not twist it.
No, what I wanted to, I'm just going to grab that opportunity and say it anyways, is to, one thing that can also be very beneficial added to the for me, or the for me can actually be that as well, is to take responsibility. Take responsibility for what you are potentially causing the other person with the decision that you're making. And so, like, for instance, if I say, for me, I don't know, I can't think of it. Okay, so for me, I can't think of an example, but okay, let's say this. For me, it doesn't feel good to go and have an ice cream with you guys right now because it's cold. But I do want to take the responsibility to say, my apologies if this has in any way hurt your feelings. But for me, this is right now how I feel, and I don't understand. Like, that's what I kind of mean. So that you, next to how it feels for you, you then also take responsibility of what effect it may have on the other person, whether it has or not. But at least that you show, okay, I'm making my step towards you also, like with full intention, not just like for the fact of doing it, but to actually mean it also, and then leave space for the other person to then potentially be grateful for the fact that you take that responsibility, or to also say, well, wait a second, it's okay that we don't have an ice cream right now. I understand how you feel also. Something along those lines. Yeah, I just wanted to add to it.
I think what you'll find in most of the time as well, when you do that, it's all the assumptions that we have, like, this is how we think it's going to affect them. Like, sometimes obviously there will be that, but the majority of the time, like, it's just way overthought in our head, and like it's nothing like that. But because we've all had it. Like, people say no to us all the time, right? It happens, right? But quite often for us, it's like, okay, no worries.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a big deal, but we make it out to be sometimes as well.
Yeah.
Another thing to add on, like, it is also the other person's responsibility to communicate how they feel, if they feel offended or whatever. Like, to second, what Chabaria said, like, putting it out there that it's, that going one step towards them kind of thing.
It opens up that space, right, for that to happen.
But then after that, you can't, keep going further, I don't think, in my opinion anyway. Like, the person has to come to you, and I don't know.
You just keep going further. Yeah, like, so I don't know if you're still upset about yesterday, but for me, I really didn't want that ice cream. Just keep going further. And the next time you have an ice cream, you're like, so I know you might still be upset about, last week when we didn't get ice cream, but the weather's better today and I'm feeling a lot more, I'm actually hungry right now. So for me, I'm going to go get an ice cream. Just keep going.
To be honest, I am like that. So I do that. I do get back to it. And I do want to, at least have taken all within my possibility to take responsibility for it, and to at least create a space, because not everybody is as communicative, or not everybody is of the same personality type or stuff like that. So personally, I do, and sometimes I go a little bit too far, like, that ice cream from last year. But yeah, that's like,
I think it's about finding what works for you, and like, if you're more comfortable with that, then that's like perfect.
Yeah.
For me, I have to, it comes to a point where I have to be like, okay, you're responsible for your own emotions, and if I have made you feel like that, and you communicate it to me, then we can have a conversation about it. And this is how you feel, and I honor that. But at the end of the day, it's not my responsibility to, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
I think this really speaks into what Vina was saying in the chat. She says, when you respect yourself consistently, your standards are visible, and more often than not, no one will overstep your boundaries without your permission.
100%.
And like using these kind of little phrases just to start those conversations, I think it demonstrates that, you know, like, because there's definitely, we all have those people in our lives, right? There's definitely some people where it wouldn't even cross your mind to ask them a certain question because you know the answer is going to be no, because you know their boundaries, because they're, you know, they've gone through this process of testing their boundaries and figuring out who they are and finding that balance and that alignment in their beliefs and their principles and their values, and they're able to communicate that just by their own actions, right? You know, I think that's a really important point. I just want to shift the dynamic a little bit because I don't know about you guys, I'm loving this conversation. If you're enjoying this, if this is helpful, by the way, you lovely people at home, just type a big smiley face in the chat and just say yay, because like I think these conversations are so important. Like I know we talk about this quite a lot, and that's perfectly beautiful, but like I think these are the kind of conversations that should be happening, you know, around education in schools and all the rest of it. So like I know that I didn't always have these kind of conversations accessible. So I think that's so important, right? But we touched on it a few times, and we kind of knocked on the door of the conversation, and I kind of just want to go down and go through there now, because for me, you guys are listening, very good. I think it's interesting, right? What we've spoken about so far has been when you're presented with an opportunity question and it tests your boundary, do you say yes or no, right? And how to kind of deal with that, how to establish your boundaries, how to say yes and no to the right things, how to figure out what is the right thing, knowing that ultimately energy doesn't lie, right? You can feel it, that intuition is not there by coincidence, or unless you're just hungry for food, and that's your hunger, not your intuition going in your tummy, right? But this has all been like up until the point of new things, new opportunities, new stuff coming into your life. The question I want to put to you, really curious what you think, is when you've already committed to something, you've already said yes to something, how, and then you realize that, you know, that isn't serving you, that this doesn't fit in with your boundaries or your, you know, beliefs or your values or whatever it might be, but you already said yes. How do you deal with that? Because that would be what most people would consider quitting, right? And there's a lot of pop culture, especially online, where it's all quitting is for losers, right? Winners don't quit, right? Because quit don't win, and all of that kind of conversation. What do you guys think about that? Like, how would you handle that? What do you think quitting or you know, having to change the dynamic and step away from something?
I think it depends on the reason that you want to step away from something. Because say you take on something and you like really enjoy it, you're really, you know, you love learning about it, but you're not getting the results straight away, and maybe you fail your first few attempts of doing whatever it is you might fail at, and you might get disheartened, yeah, discouraged, disheartened by it all. Thank you, both of you. Discombobulated.
Can I buy a vowel?
You know, you've just got to be aware of it. Are you wanting to say no because you have failed and that's hurt your ego, or are you wanting to say no because you actually don't feel it in your heart that it's the right thing for you to do anymore?
Yeah, very good one.
And it's very personal. There's no, you know, yes or no kind of, you know, the right answer, you know, for any scenario. And that's something that I feel that you have to go in to yourself. And when you get to know yourself and when you are more balanced and like all the things we've mentioned before and in alignment with yourself, that's something that you will become more clear about. So
I totally agree.
For me, it's not clear on whatever it is.
For me,
but, oh dear. Hashtag for me.
This is really complicating.
Yeah. It's
I totally agree with you. I think what's really important is, for me, I don't know how you guys might feel, but for me, it's important to realize everything you said, because I completely agree and would hold the same outlook on it. But I think what stops people from kind of getting to that point, because I know that I've experienced this before, with different things that you do through life, but quitting can seem like a really, like, it's just not allowed, right? Because it's almost like toxic positivity. It's like, like, because that's what losers do, and then that kind of conversation, I think it's really important to, like, first recognize that isn't the truth. Like, quitting in itself is okay, so long as it's under the right circumstances, right? Because, like you say, like, are you quitting just because something's difficult and is challenging you? That's probably not the right reason to quit, because we're here to grow and to learn. So if it's just challenging you, egotistically or not, that's probably not the right reason to quit. It might be, but it might not be. But if there isn't that congruency, that alignment, that everything isn't in harmony, and you can feel that, like, you can't always explain it, but sometimes you just know. And ultimately, the way that I would explain it is that either it sucks, and so sometimes, like, people aren't always okay with saying that, like, this situation sucks. Like, that's okay to just honor and respect that, rather than to be like toxic positively BSing yourself to going, no, it's okay. Like, sometimes things just suck, and that's completely okay, right? Because you have the power then to change it, right? So that could be one option, but the other could be that it's maybe just not for you right now, or whatever it might be. But then it becomes a service thing, right? Because if you're doing something out of to help others, I know obviously we're all entrepreneurial in this space, so typically, like, it might be that you're doing the service to the people that you're meant to be serving. Like, so then it would be, again, another kind of occasion where, for me, like, quitting would probably be the best thing to do, because you're not doing justice to yourself, to the people that people, like anyone else involved in that kind of situation, if that makes sense. So it kind of boils down to those things for me. And I think the biggest things, like the realizations that I had on this, was like, one thing, okay, just admitting that the situation can suck, and that's okay. And that quitting is also okay. It's not a bad thing. And like all this pop culture BS just needs to go. Like, it's completely okay when you redefine it and give it a new meaning, right? Then when you say no to something else, it gives you the opportunity to say yes to the right thing for you. You know?
Exactly.
Did you want to say something, Chip?
Oh, you go first.
Because what you said.
We're also
Seb, about the toxic positivity and things like that, and how we're always told to be grateful for everything and things like that. And you can absolutely be grateful. Like, say you're in a job that you really don't like, it can 100% suck, but you can be grateful for it, but it can suck, and you can honor that. And you'd be like, oh, like, this job sucks, and I'm grateful for it as a stepping stone to my next thing, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. I'm grateful for this job, but I know that I deserve better.
Exactly, 100%.
Because you do. If you're not happy, you do deserve better.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and I think
also, I love that.
To add exactly to what you guys just said, one thing that has helped me very much is to be clear that there's multiple ways of how you can get to what is your destination. So one destination that I think all of us share is, living a life on your own terms and being able to look after your family members and being happy and healthy in that destination, even though it's never really a destination. But I mean, that's like what everybody continuously strives towards. And if you then come upon an opportunity which you have, for instance, said yes to, you've committed to, and you have honored and respect your part of that commitment, and you realize actually that sucks, or it's not in alignment, then, like you guys say, you can be very grateful for it. You can see, like, this has served its purpose, and I have given it my all. I have stayed integral, or I've lived and done.
I finished what I've started. I've done my part. Yeah, exactly.
But right now, I can see that it is no longer in my alignment to continue with this right now, and it's better, in order for me to honor my goal, to stop this and to move on to something else, and to be flexible and adaptable in that while still honoring your own integrity. And so it's not like for me, for instance, if I think about in business, I really don't care what I do in business as long as it helps people and is able to make good money. And so if I have to be, running e-commerce, then I'm happily doing that. If I'm teaching people, I'm happy doing that. If I'm doing anything else, maybe real estate, I'm happy doing that. So for me, I don't care which way it is, as long as it is honoring those two things. And so whenever I come onto a particular business model and then I say, well, right now this is no longer serving me, and I stop it, then I know that's not quitting, but it's just being adaptable. As long as you do everything with integrity. But like Pierre said before as well, you have to see whether you actually like that, not just say, oh, I had a little challenge, now I'm gonna stop because it's no longer no, like you do have to show some character and discipline there to literally show, have I given it my all? But that's obviously also part of living with integrity and knowing that you have given it your all in order to.
And to do that, you need to know your boundaries, though, right?
Yeah.
Like everything you said there, like just spoke about, exactly what your boundaries are with your professional life, right? And how that plays also into your personal life, right? You know what the boundaries are. Like these are the two most important things for me. And I will be flexible. You do it in the right words, but like you've got to establish that. Yeah, it's really important. I loved what you said, actually. Agree.
Nice. Thank you.
Something that I think is important to shine light on is, we kind of touched on it here. Everything, including ourselves, we're all organic in life.
Yeah.
Which means if you're not growing, you're dying. So even if it is not at the pace you would wish, we're growing.
Yeah.
So when you took that job, or you said yes to your friend or family member,
exactly,
you were a certain person when you agreed to those things. And like Pierre said, I think it's very important that you can, and Seb too, you can be in a situation that sucks and be appreciative of it, but don't hold yourself, don't be too hard on yourself for growing and evolving and leaving the things behind that no longer serve you, because you're in fact not even that person anymore. So it makes sense that we go through cycles, and that change is one of the most consistent things in life. So don't fear it, and don't get too down on yourself for change, because it's gonna happen, and you might as well control what you can control in your life, because there is a lot that we don't have control of. So if you can at least control yourself, your mind, your thoughts, your actions, you're going to be much happier.
Totally agree. I love that. I think that's a beautiful resounding note, maybe to wrap this, like that's proper mic drop kind of moment, or highlight the drop in this kind of situation. Everybody just drop everything. Drop everything. If you're watching this on your phone, don't drop your phone. It's probably very valuable. But I think that's a beautiful sentiment to wrap this episode out on, is, really being okay through the process of figuring out who you are, what's important, where your boundaries lie, your values are, play a big part in establishing all of that. But then understanding that you will change and you will grow and you will evolve, because it's a never ending journey, right? It's not like that one destination and then that's it. You will continue to change and evolve, because the only in life is change.
Yeah.
So being willing to, as everybody said so beautifully, through that process, and then when you do start to get that identity and you figure out who you are and you find that balance and that harmony and that alignment, just respecting that. Because I think this is, John, but something that for me massively this year is that if I don't respect, I think I touched on this in the chat as well, if I don't respect my boundaries and who I am, how can I expect anybody else to, right? So you really just have to start with yourself. So I want to say big thank you to the amazing Chiba. Please This legend right here, dinosaur who rolls around the floor. Oh my goodness, we talk about figuring out our own. Sorry, I won't be at work today. I'm rolling around on the floor. Very good. Now, can we also please give it up for the one and the only amazing Pierre? Now, I don't want to upset you, Pierre, for me. I really just think you're amazing, bro.
Thanks, man.
Like this, I never cease to amaze me the tips and the tricks that you come out with, and how wildly simple and profound and effective they are. So thank you for all. I think big learner for me for sure. So if you could for me to put the area, and of course, last but by no means least, we save the best till last. You guys know how it is. We got Bryan Mangiolardo over here. If this guy doesn't have the biggest heart, I don't know who does. Oh my gosh. Like the wisdom, the eloquence, the beauty in which you speak, you know, feel your way through life. These kind of things are so important, reminding us that we are organic, that we're breathing human beings. You know, we are alive, and we will change, and we will grow, and we will evolve. These beautiful reminders to honor and respect that. Thank you for bringing that to the table, Bryan. Really appreciate you, brother. Thank you so very much. Now, before we do wrap it out, would anybody like to share any final words? Do we go around? We'll start with the amazing Chibaria over here.
I wanted to say, let's not forget our incredible super host, Mr. Seb, who has been most wonderful as we always are. And and this conversation was led so beautifully. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so final words for our viewers, for our audience. Anybody? Short little tips or quotes for inspiration, or just anything on your mind? Chibaria.
Live with integrity.
Live with integrity. You heard it here, people. Live with integrity. Bryan Mangiolardo, you're up.
Well, I would say love yourself at all costs, because amazing things happen from there.
Nice.
Beautiful. Beautiful word. Love yourself at all costs, people.
Thank you guys for allowing me to be here, and I love these talks. I hope the audience did too, and I thank you guys for all the work that you put in, and I love having these talks.
Right back at you.
Couldn't agree more, bro. Right back at you. Okay, Mr. Pierre, Mr. Charles Xavier.
Mind control. No, I think it's things I said during the conversation we've just had. Remember the for me and I feel kind of thing. And also, if you are in the process of learning to set your own boundaries, know that you will go too far one way, you will go too far the other way. That's the only way you can find what works for you. And guilt. Pardon?
For you?
For you, yeah. So that's the only way you're going to find what works for you. And you know, guilt is a natural part of it, especially if you are the kind of people pleaser. If you have that kind of pattern, so just acknowledge that, and don't be too hard on yourself when you have set the boundaries and then you feel that guilt. It is completely normal. So I'll leave it with that.
That is true.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, bro.
Thank you, everyone.
Here. Okay, and I would like to thank all of our beautiful panel here on the screen. Thank you so much for your time and your energy and your beautiful words. Thank you for you guys at home, wherever you might be tuning into this, either live or on the replay. I hope you took value from this. Hope you enjoyed these kind of conversations. So if you have anything you would like to hear us talk about, you have any questions around, you know, life, entrepreneurship, business, spirituality, personal development, any of these kind of things, about dinosaurs, about how to roll around on the floor most effectively, whatever, type your comments below. We do go through and we do look, and we use future conversation points and things, so future episodes and topics. So we guys, so yeah, let us know any questions, any thoughts, and if you did enjoy this, make sure to like it, but give it a love heart. You know, it does a little bit more for the algorithm. So Yeah, you can show us a little bit. That'd be super awesome. And if you've got anyone you think might need to hear this kind of talk right now, you can hit that share button, just fire it straight into the inbox with a little bit of love, and you could go, I don't know if this will resonate with you, but for me, it really did. And these things that we talked about in today's, you know, you can start implementing what we talk about. And that's the kind of thing that I want to close this on is with stuff like this, like tuning in and learning it is one thing. It's fantastic. So congratulate yourself for being here. The most important thing, absolutely, hoo-ha hoot for your amazing self for being here, for setting this up, investing that time into yourself, but now make it worthwhile. What does that mean? It means implement these things. So if you've heard anything, if it's like triggered any thoughts or feelings or emotions or whatever it might be as you've been listening to this conversation, going, maybe I need to set up, maybe I need to say yes to that or no to this or whatever it might be, then just go ahead and do it. You know, be courageous enough to say yes to yourself, which might mean occasionally saying no to others. So with that being said, big love, big blessings, and we'll catch you guys. Peace.
Oh, I need to find the button. Okay, not